By 1972, the question of whether the Cobra, the world's first attack helicopter, can perform in a high-intensity battle has not been effectively answered. The proving ground comes on March 30, 1972, Easter Eve. NVA General Nguyen Giat takes advantage of a stepped-up U.S. withdrawal and sends 200,000 troops smashing into South Vietnam in 3 critical locations. The goal? Divide the country and snatch it from President Thieu.
The Russians told them, don't mess around with this little guerrilla warfare anymore. You can't win it that way. Go blitzkrieg, and we'll give you the tanks and so forth. So most of our troops...
Colonel Bill Miller is the senior American advisor in An Loc, a provincial southern capital strategically located on Highway 13, within striking distance of Saigon.
Come into An Loc, hit us from 3 sides, moved in with tanks and infantry and artillery like, my God, you ain't never seen it like it before. It was like popcorn popping. I mean, it wasn't no damn guerrilla war about that. I mean, that was for real.
It was a dagger aimed at the heart of Saigon, and it would have made future negotiations on the course of the war very difficult for the United States.
As the NVA advances toward An Loc, an aerial field artillery unit called the Blue Max, based just north of Saigon, goes on high alert. Former Green Beret Major Larry McKay is the commander of the Cobra unit, call sign Serpent 6.
There were 9 battalions. That's a big unit. 1 battalion is a big unit. 9 battalions of anti-aircraft that the North Vietnamese brought down. It went from a low intensity to high intensity and just passed right through a mid-intensity.
With 15,000 civilians to worry about in An Loc, Bill Miller, set up at ARVN headquarters with other advisors, tries to get a handle on the battle. Suddenly, 6 NVA T-54 tanks reach the town's main street and rumble toward Miller's bunker.
So it gave way, and we lost about half of what we had. And 2 or 3 of the tanks got through the line. I called back to the rear there somewhere, and probably earlier, and I said, send me some Stukas. And that was more humor than anything else, because the Stuka was a German dive bomber they used in World War II, used it on parachute everywhere, so being humorous. So young captain back there in the rear said, there, sir, can I get the stock number on that Stuka? I said, the JU-87, something will knock out a damn tank. Somebody come up on my push and said, this says Serpent 6. Yeah, and I said, what you got? He said, I got a flight of Cobras. I said, ooh, there's too much anti-aircraft here. I think if you ever roll in, you might not roll out. He said, negative, negative, sir. I got HEAT, and that's high explosive in a tank. And I said, you beautiful dog.
McKay's Cobra unit has a brand new shipment of advanced anti-tank rockets, rarely used in Vietnam to this point. Miller knows the Cobra and heat rockets are a lethal combination for the NVA. He also knows there is no other firepower precise enough to strike into the heart of the Vietnamese city.
I wasn't commanding. Here was a little bitty 37-year-old brigadier general. He was in command, and I said, we got to commit to Cobras. And he said, well, we can't bring her in the middle of our troops. I said, yep, that's where the tanks are.
We had to be cleared to fire by the senior American on the ground, who at that time cleared us to fire, and the information that he gave us was that he was looking down the barrel of the Soviet-built T-54.
The Cobras identify their target and know surprise is in their favor.
We rolled in at a very steep angle for us because we did not want the rockets to get off target, and so we were concerned primarily about Americans on the ground, Vietnamese on the ground, and Vietnamese civilians on the ground.
They deal with that big mother up front first. And the most beautiful sight could ever be seen in any man's eyeballs is when there's an iron horse out there. You see a cobra lower his nose ever so slight, just like he's flying down the clothesline like that, and shoots those rockets.
The tank back immediately exploded. He was near the gas area, and I think that assisted us in what had happened. And we clearly knew that the lead tank was immobilized.
The Cobras take out 3 tanks in all, stunting the NVA force inside the city.
Beside me, the South Vietnamese, might have been a colonel, I think he was the intelligence officer, that had some radios on a North Vietnamese net. And he said the tankers in An Loc was calling back to the command, enemy tankers now, calling back, said, hey, you said they wouldn't come in on us if they got inside town, said the Americans wouldn't bring it in on their own troops, so what do we do?
That's not the end of the fighting. A bitter 90-day siege ensues. AP reporter Peter Arnett drives into the city and views the destruction.
All the buildings were destroyed. There was carnage in the streets. There were many casualties amongst the civilians and the soldiers. It was a mess, that city. But at least it had held.
The deadly follow-up of B-52 strikes and other U.S. air power pummels the NVA, finally throwing back the force in mid-July. McKay's Cobra unit destroys 20 T-54 tanks in all, but not without shocking losses. 8 out of 32 Blue Max pilots are killed. An Loc has proven a place on the modern battlefield for the attack helicopter, but the Cobra will need precision-guided standoff weapons to remain effective.